E-Dirty.
We're going live, baby.
Presents.
This is neat.
The soon-to-be historic TBK Sports Center, right? Still,
Yes.
It's too new to be historic, right?
Yeah, it's a little too new.
Then live and uncool.
All right, Cody Smith.
Yep.
Man, I'm so glad we're finally getting a chance to sit down.
Yeah, this will be
I
fun.
feel like we've kind of been like ships in the night. You know, we've kind of known each other over the years, but have never really had a chance to sit down and actually chat. I've always just known you as Cody. Welcome, everybody, to Joe Braymeyer Presents. We're live this morning right here at the Level 2 Fitness Center atop the TBK Sports Complex right here in beautiful Bettendorf, Iowa, right?
Yes.
And my special guest is Cody Smith. He's the general manager here, and we're going to learn everything there is to know about this building, but more importantly, everything there is to know about Cody Smith. So
looking forward to
I
it.
hope you're ready to rock and roll,
I'm
my
ready.
friend. So we got to get cozy here. So I'm starting this new thing here on the show where I go from one gym in town to the next, and this is going to span between the Quad Cities and Iowa City and everywhere in between and every small town that connects them.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is I want to work out for a whole month at one given facility and then sit down with the general manager or the owner or whoever that may be just to kind of talk about it and find out about the facility. Because I think it's unfair to just come in and never have actually breathed the air in the facility and then try to dissect it.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
And I'm going to have you move that mic just a little bit closer, Cody. Yeah, there we go. Because I feel like, especially a facility like the TBK Sports Complex, I think it sometimes gets more heat than it deserves because it's such a big facility, right? Because I can remember, and follow me along here. I've been a neighbor of this facility for 15 years, and 15 years ago when I first moved to the area, not far from here, nothing was here. This was just a field.
This was the cornfield, yeah.
And now what we have is this giant sports complex, and then around it you have restaurants and boutique shops and all kinds of other businesses that have popped up, gas stations, hotels. None of this was here, what?
8 years ago.
8 years ago?
Yeah.
It was nothing. And now here's where we are. With that big of a growth and big of an expansion comes a lot of misunderstanding about how this facility works. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah.
And with misunderstanding, people just assume things.
Yeah.
So I want to dive into that. But first I want to hear about you.
Okay.
Okay? So how in the world did a Cody Smith end up being the general manager of the Level 2 Fitness Center?
That is a great question. So I actually started working here the very first month that they opened back in 2018 in June. So I worked at the front desk originally. And so I moved here. I just graduated college, was here for about a month. This place had just opened. I thought it looked awesome. Came out here, worked out a couple times. And Kira was the original manager. I walked up to her one day and I was like, hey, I noticed nobody's ever at the front desk. Are you guys hiring for some, positions? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I started working the front desk, and I worked the front desk for about a year and a half. While I was at the front desk, I got my personal training certification through Club Connect, which we have, here we offer for our employees. I got a different job at Anytime Fitness in Bettendorf, which actually closed over COVID. So when I was a trainer there, I was actually going back to school to get my degree as a physical therapist assistant. As soon as I graduated, Mark, who filled in for Kira after she left, he was the manager after that. He approached me and wanted to get Athlete U going, which is our youth performance program that we have here. So I started that up right after I graduated, and that went well originally. And I was training, and they had an open position for fitness director, and it was open for a while. They asked me to apply for it. I applied. They gave it to me. And then a year later, I got promoted to general manager, so that's where I am now.
Sounds like it was kind of a natural progression.
Yeah, yep.
So you walked in here shortly after the place just opened and said, I'd like to have a job.
Yeah, I just thought it was.
Why? Where were you at in your point of your life where you're just walking around town looking for a job?
Yeah, that was basically it. No, I was homeless. No, I'm just kidding. So I had just moved back here. So I played junior college baseball here right out of high school, and then I went and graduated.
What do you mean by here?
At Blackhawk, so in the Quad Cities. I'm not from the Quad Cities.
Okay.
I'm from the Peoria area. I'm from Canton, Illinois, so a really small town outside of Peoria.
From Canton?
Yep.
Okay.
And so
you went to school at Blackhawk.
I went to school at Blackhawk.
And you played baseball at Blackhawk.
Played baseball there, and then I went to Murray State University for a year, got hurt, and then transferred to Southern Missouri, and that's where I spent my last 2 years. So I played there, and then after I graduated, I didn't want to move back home. I wanted to come back to the Quad Cities because I loved it when I was here going to Blackhawk. So then I moved back here with my best friend. He was going to Palmer at the time. So I moved back, didn't have a job or anything planned up. I started working at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I came in here after this place opened, and I was like, hey, can I work here part-time? And so I was working here and Dick's Sporting Goods part-time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not a Quad City native. I kind of like that.
No, I'm not a Quad City native.
Will you be from here on out, do you think? Are you going to
That's a good question.
You going to grow some roots here in town?
Maybe. We'll see. I like the Quad Cities a lot. I've always liked the Quad Cities. You know, it's a city feel, but still also a small town feel where, you know, you feel like you can go anywhere and you can run into somebody that you know.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like it's good, and yeah, I like it here. So most likely I'll stay.
There was a point in time, and you'll know what I'm saying when I say this, that especially right when this place opened, the staff here was kind of a who's who of the fitness world for young guns of the Quad Cities.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll name drop
Jesse,
them.
Haley, Ryan,
Jesse Adams, now Jesse Engelbrecht,
Yep.
right? Kira Bierbeck, now Kira Engelbrecht.
Yep.
Haley Delph
Yep.
was up here, another heavy hitter.
Yep.
Who else?
Ryan was here too.
Ryan Delph was up here, and now those guys have their own facility, which we're very friendly with. We'll do a live with those guys at some point here. But yeah, because when it first opened and I came up here and joined, it was like, I know that person, and I know that person, and I know that person.
Yep.
Walk me through why Cody stayed and some people go do some of their other things.
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, I stayed just because it was like my first job in like the fitness industry. I'd never really thought of being a trainer or being involved in a gym out of college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was naive. I thought I'd play baseball the rest of my life, you know, like a lot of kids in college that play sports.
Sure.
And so honestly, growing up and through my first 2 years at junior college and my first year at Murray State, I hated lifting weights. I hated being in the gym. It wasn't anything that I ever, you know, desired.
So you didn't lift in
do.
high school.
No.
There wasn't a strength and conditioning program at Canton, Illinois.
No, we had a weight room. I think it had 2 racks in it. Obviously, the infamous tricep push-down machine, which got a lot of use from everybody at my high school. A couple benches.
You got to be part of the TSP, the tight shirt posse for the girls, right? You got to have tight shirt sleeves.
We had one of those old school neck machines that you could, you know, load up with plates and get some neck extensions on there. Everybody tried to use that, and then they'd be sore for like 3 weeks. But no, I never really, you know, had a desire to lift weights until, honestly, when I got to Missouri Southern. We had a really cool strength and conditioning coach, Ori Sheffield. Shout out to him if he ever sees this. But
what up?
Yeah, he was awesome. He made me excited about going to team liftings and got me interested in more of you know, exercise science. I'd always been fascinated with more the physical therapy side of things. That really started because I ruptured a disc in my back in college, so I did that power cleaning. So that was another reason why I was a little skeptical of training and lifting weights in the gym. But you know, over time, especially after I graduated, my best friend, he's a chiropractor now, he was religiously in the gym all the time. He got me into it, and you know, after you start something, you do it for a couple months, it just becomes a habit, and it became part of my routine. And you know, I didn't have a lot of going on at the time, being in a new city, didn't have, you know, a stable job. You know, I had 2 part-time jobs, but that was my routine. I would, you know, come and I'd open here in the morning, I'd work out, and then I'd go close Dick's at night, and I would just do that, you know, 5, 6, 7 days a week.
I'm going to share a thought with you here, and I'm going to try to articulate it the best I can, and then I want you to respond to it, okay? We go back to 8 years ago. This place was not here.
Yep.
This place is here now, and it's celebrating a lot of success. A lot of the economy of the Quad Cities has benefited from it. You look around here, and there's probably on a Tuesday morning here a couple hundred people within this facility doing things, working out, playing pickleball, shooting hoops, whatever it is. Initially, when I knew you and I were going to sit down here, I was like, I got a bunch of questions for Cody. Like, I don't understand why they do it this way and why they do it this way, and which I'm sure you hear that a lot. Hey, why do you have that set up the way you do? But then I started reflecting on that, and I'm like, this place hasn't even been here a decade, and it's a major improvement to the Quad Cities. Give it a little time to breathe, right?
Yeah.
I was initially going to say, you know what this place needs? It just needs a little mint on the pillow. Well, you know what? You guys are still building the hotel here. I mean, the expansion that's happening, the Skywalk, and the across the street is going to be
the ORA Surgery Center.
Yeah, it's going to be massive, right? It's all part of one big kind of group, right? So I almost feel as though the target needs to get a little bit smaller on the TBK Center, give it some time to breathe and grow, because let's face it, on a weekend, there's thousands of people in and out of this complex through the baseball fields and through the soccer fields and all of that. I think it's a wonderful place, and I'm sure the staff always wants to make improvements and do these things, but these things take time. The bigger the ship, the harder it is to make a turn, right? So talk to me about that in the sense of when a random member comes up and gives you a little bit of static about something.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you said with the ship analogy, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Like, changes here take a little bit of time. It's a huge facility. But, a new member coming up to me with a suggestion, I love that, actually, because I don't get as many as you might think. People, in my opinion, maybe they just assume that I already know all these things, or I think of these things in the same way that they do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily have the perspective of a new person coming in here. I've came in here every day for 8 years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that shock and awe that a person who's never seen this facility has, which I know they get every single time. And I got it when I first came in here too, So it's like the little details and things like that, like I try to see, but my perspective is I come in here every single day. I see the same things. I'm, trying to make sure we're clean. I'm trying to make sure all the equipment's running right. I'm trying to make sure all my employees are happy. I might not see everything that every single member sees. So I love it when they come up and tell me something. I wish they would honestly do it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's a lot of times where I'll, hear something from a member, I'll be like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, how can I make that work? Or, why haven't I thought of that? And, in hindsight, 2020.
Yeah. Well, I have a few if you ever want some, but, but all in all, this place is well equipped. This facility easily has the most, let me think about that before I say it. I was going to say it has the most exercise equipment in any one given facility. I think that would be right up in this area. Do you know how many square footage this is?
Oh, not off the top of my head. I'm really bad at math, so like the square footage thing really throws me off.
But I got to imagine this place. Yeah, this place has to have the most in any one given space, the most amount of fitness equipment in one area.
I believe that it's the most that I've seen in any of the gyms that I've been to, for sure.
You're not a parent.
I'm not a parent.
You're not a parent.
No.
And so that's also an interesting thing, because from a parent's lens, you just always look at things a little bit differently in a facility, If you could change one thing right now about this place, or improve one thing about this place, if you could wave a magic wand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that we may have some owners watching and everything, but but seriously, this is constructive. It's good. If you could just do one thing and be like, you know what? I'd put Cody's spin on this right here.
So my number one would be to redo the locker rooms. For our facility, our membership base, the area that we have on our gym floor, our locker rooms are very tiny. they're nice. They have great floors. They're very clean. We have the showers in there, but if we could expand those into, even where this cubby area is, build some lockers, have a sauna in there, that would be the ideal situation. Just more space.
Treadmill Heroes sells saunas, by the way.
Yeah.
They sell saunas, and we're local.
Yeah.
Now, wouldn't that be nice?
That would
Buy
be
something
nice,
from a
yes.
local company as a local level 2 fitness center.
Always an option. We'll see.
Always an option. We could fill this place with saunas. As a matter of fact, we should take over 3 basketball courts and just do all sauna therapy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we could make that happen like that. That is a good point, because and there again, when you build a place like this, it is impossible to hit every nail on the head.
Absolutely.
And say, yep, we got the locker rooms perfect, we got the entryway perfect. Because you don't know necessarily how it's going to evolve. So you almost need to start with a big shell.
Yeah.
And then start to make some improvements after that.
And I think, too, like when this place was built, nobody really had an idea of how big it was going to be. We didn't know how fast the membership was going to grow. We didn't have an idea of how many members total we would have. And so, the gym itself wasn't really part of the initial blueprint for this building. It was kind of an afterthought. Like, we had some extra space upstairs, and what could we do with it? Well, we could have a really cool fitness facility. And so that's what they did. And like you said,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Right. Let's break that down. This is a sports complex that happens to have a gym in it that you can work out in.
It's not a gym that has a court and a turf soccer field.
There you go.
Sports complex.
There you go.
Yes.
And that sometimes is the misconception, because everybody is only interested in what they're interested in.
Yeah.
So if I know this place has a gym and I like to work out, well, then that's going to be the main thing I'm going to focus on.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to nitpick apart everything else, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. If I only come here for basketball tournaments, I'm going to have an opinion on how the basketball tournament can be run a little bit better.
Yeah. And everybody's going to have their own opinions. And, really this level 2 is, think of it like level 2 is being its own business inside of this location, right? We have our sports department, we have our entertainment department, we have level 2, and then we have other, businesses like Genesis, who have a clinic downstairs. We have EL1 Baseball Academy downstairs, and then we have all of our teams and programs that, rent out our fields, our courts throughout the entire year, like the Barnstormers, Swarm Basketball, Striker Soccer, those type of things. So it's all a lot of separate entities within one large area. And don't get me wrong, like level 2 sport entertainment, like we all work together, we all have meetings together, but we are ran individually.
Of all of the divisions within the TBK Bank Center, the arcade, the fitness center, the whole list, what's the most profitable?
Oh, I don't know if I can say that.
Okay, what's the most, in your opinion, what is the most successful when it comes to revenue versus expenses?
That's a great question.
If you had to guess.
I mean, I'm going to say sport just because it costs a lot of money to rent out all the fields for a tournament. And you got teams paying, fees to get into these tournaments. And, we have multi-year contracts with certain organizations for the tournament. So that's a big profit margin.
It's a good setup, too.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you go to the entertainment side of things, and people might not realize this, like the game card, you know what I mean? Like to put money on a game card, that doesn't cost us a whole lot of money. So it's a high turnover on the entertainment center for sure. But, then you go into the fact of, the restaurant and staffing that and food and beverage and, so it probably balances out. I don't really know what a good answer would be for what's the most profitable.
Let me ask you this. When I walk in through that doorway that now I'm in the entertainment area, the bar, the restaurant, the bowling lanes, the arcade, all of that's considered one entity within the entity, right? Or is the food service separate from the arcade?
No. That's entertainment, the entertainment center.
That's
TBK
all one.
Entertainment center.
TBK Entertainment.
Yep.
The arcade machines.
Yes.
Are those leased? You guys don't buy those, do you?
So, like I said, we are our own business inside of here. I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know those answers to those questions.
Okay, I would suspect, if I had to guess, the arcade machines are probably leased.
I would say probably because they do rotate the games pretty frequently.
They do.
They try to update and keep it fresh.
They'd almost have to be leased.
Yep.
And the other thing that I've noticed, this is a big positive, I rarely, if ever, have I seen an out-of-order sign on an arcade machine out there, and that's usually a telltale that those are not owned.
Yeah.
Those are leased, and the second a button's not working, a phone call's made. Hey, get this thing out of here, bring me something different, and then bring it back when it works.
I know Nick, our IT guy. Another shout out to him. He puts in a lot of work fixing those arcade games.
Oh, so you have an internal guy that goes. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. He spends a lot of time making sure those things are running well.
A quarter unjammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually on his name tag.
Yeah, Nick, quarter unjammer. Yeah, that would be, and IT.
Yeah.
And IT. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Cody. I want to talk a little bit about baseball for a second.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard this from other baseball players who have played in college, maybe some minor league ball. Is it true the difference in the ability of a minor league baseball player and a professional baseball player is razor thin? Or is it not necessarily razor thin? Like if you're at the...
Are you talking like from a skill level?
Yes, from a skill level.
Absolutely. In my opinion, this is my opinion, it's more about consistency, especially when you're going, from minor leagues to major leagues. If you're going to get drafted, you have some type of a skill level to where you're good, right? Especially if you're drafted in, top 10 rounds. But to separate you to move up throughout the minors and get to major league, like you have to do that at a consistent level. And I feel like that's where most players die off. They don't realize the grind of minor league baseball. They don't realize the commitment. They don't realize how easy it is if you're not performing to just get the boot and you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had some friends that hosted. I think it was one player for the Bandits. Mm-hmm. It's a host family. You live there, right? And that's usually the way it works in minor league ball, right? Because you're a starving baseball player in the minor leagues, right?
Unless you got drafted high and you got a good signing bonus, then you're not signing or starving. Because like when Carlos Correa was playing here for the Bandits back in 2014, he wasn't starving.
How much was he making?
I don't know what his signing bonus was, but it was definitely over $1 million.
For the Bandits? Well, the Bandits don't play it.
He doesn't get paid by the Bandits, but his signing bonus by the Astros at that time would have been over $1 million for sure.
Because they're saying, we know you're going to play for us, but go play at the Bandits for a while and sharpen the sword.
Contract, whenever you sign, you're guaranteed a certain amount of money, right? So that's your signing bonus as a rookie player getting signed for the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not everybody gets that. That's usually only big money for your first 4, maybe 5 rounds. After that, some guys are getting signed just for the plane ticket.
But I think you would agree, or just give me some insight, when it comes to playing at that level of baseball, like 1 or 2 mistakes can just end your career, right?
Sure. I mean, I didn't play in the minors. I only played in college. I played Division I, Division II, and junior college. But I know some guys that did play in the majors and in the minors, and yeah, for sure, it can go really, really quick, but the guys that I know that really played in the minors, it wasn't that they, couldn't play at that level. It was more they just didn't want to put in the grind and the work for how long it takes, especially nowadays with the volume of athletes that get drafted, especially in the major leagues for baseball. They take you 6, 7, 8 years where you're just grinding every single day away from your family, playing, basically every single day for 5, 6 months out of the year. And then you get 3 months off where you're making no money at all. And you're trying to, find a part-time job and just grind it out. And you're poor all the time. You're like, man, when is this going to end? Like, I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of grinding. I'm tired, so that's what separates a lot of minor leaguers from the major league is just sticking it out and being committed and continuing to push through.
It's almost like it's a designed test to be able to have the fortitude to just continue to go without and grind and starve.
Well, if you think about baseball and major leagues in general, they play 162 games. Every season's a grind. If you can't grind it out in the minor leagues, which isn't even as long as the major league season, how are you going to make it through, multiple seasons in the MLB?
Yeah. So it is by design.
I would think it's part of the design for sure.
Yeah, because I almost think if somehow minor league baseball fell into a whole lot of investments and a whole lot of money, and all of a sudden the players are making a ton of dough, or way more than what they thought they could make, right? Doesn't that somewhat soften the Warrior a little bit if they're called up to MLB?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, what's the point if I'm going to make, 100K in the minor leagues and I'm, content there? I don't have a desire to try to, make it up to AAA major leagues where I'm going to get that, major league salary.
It'd be interesting to talk to an MLB player who has they grinded it out in the minor leagues and then made it to MLB.
I got a guy for you.
Who?
Dakota Backus.
Oh.
From the Quad Cities.
Just
downstairs, yeah.
Oh, he was down there.
Yeah. So I worked for the baseball facility downstairs, gave lessons while I was working here at the front desk and while I was a trainer here, while I was a fitness director here. So I just recently stopped giving lessons with those guys downstairs. So, yeah, I know Dakota fairly well.
I apologize.
That's okay.
I don't know who the hell Dakota is.
That's
like
fine.
I'm not a big sports guy.
That's okay.
Like so who is this
Dakota,
guy?
He's from Moline, so he got drafted out of Indiana State. I think in the 7th round. It would have been maybe in 2013.
Okay, so in 2013 he's playing college ball and he gets drafted by Major League Baseball.
He got drafted by the A's originally.
Okay.
And then he got traded to the Nationals. And so he was in the Nationals minor league organization for a very long time. I don't know exactly how long it was before he got called up, but then during COVID, he got called up to the major leagues and was on their big league roster.
Wow.
During that year, yep.
That's kind of neat. Yeah. Even just to go for a year.
Yeah.
Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to chat with that dude at some point. But right now I want to talk about you. Yeah. So, okay. Run me through a day-to-day here at Level 2 with Cody, like an average day. Yeah. Like, what are you dealing with on an average?
Absolutely. So, my role, there's no average day. Every day is very, very different. I can walk you through my day today. I can walk you through my day yesterday.
Give me a yesterday.
Sure. So, yesterday, I was supposed to work late, so I came in a little bit late. I came in around noon. When I got here at noon, I just checked my emails from the week. I updated some stuff on the website. We have a new program that's launching called ARX, which is a new youth speed and development program. So I was doing some data analysis reports. Yep.
Tell me about that.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I feel like that would be something that could be promoted here.
Absolutely.
So what is this thing that you're talking about?
So we recently partnered with USR Speed Labs. So it's a company built by Les Spellman. I don't know if you're familiar with who that is. He's a USA Olympic rugby player is what he started out as, and he started training athletes in the USA complex during the Olympics. He then started his own, business as a speed and agility coach. He works with a lot of NFL players. He works with a lot of guys like trying to develop themselves before the combine. And so he has this new platform where you can, sign up your gym and go through certain courses to learn about speed and agility. They talk you through like business planning for how to develop, camps, clinics, programs to develop youth athletes. And you're in a community of a bunch of other different gyms where you can, see where your athletes measure up with other athletes nationally around the country. And so within their program, you can do basic assessments to get full data reports on each athlete, going over their max velocities, ability to accelerate, change of direction, and how they can produce power.
Okay, so you're going to need to dumb that down for me a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, as a father of an 11-year-old athlete, okay, how does this benefit the athlete? Like, how does it work? Like, I just walk in, and then how do I even know about this program? Like, how do I even get set up?
Like I said, it's super new. So right now, all we're doing is team assessments right now within organizations of TBK. So we've only done 3 teams right now. We have 6 total booked.
So give me a specific what you did with that team. And was it a baseball team?
So last night we did a swarm basketball team. So we had about 20 guys on the court. And what we did was that we did a 40-yard dash.
Okay.
And so that's what we're getting their max velocity for. So we're just looking to see, their peak miles an hour, like how fast they're getting to by the end of that 40-yard dash.
Okay.
And then we're going to do a 10-yard acceleration. So from 0 to 10 yards, how quick are they going, or how fast are they getting up to within those 10 yards? and then we're doing a change of direction, which is basically a generic 5-10-5 shuttle, right? So you're starting in the middle, you're going 5 yards, 10, back through 5. And then the last one for power right now, and these free team assessments, we're just doing a vertical jump. So we're measuring the vertical.
Okay.
And so based off of these assessments, we can kind of pick apart athletes. We have specific charts from case studies based off of gender and age on how these athletes would rank up to other athletes from an elite, advanced, developing or beginner skill level based off of these metrics. And, some of these metrics can tell you other data points on like whether an athlete is able to hold their max speed for an extended period of time, or whether they're having a difficulty with acceleration. Like for the 40-yard dash, let's say an athlete's running, top speed 16 miles an hour. They should be getting to 90% of 16 miles an hour within that first 10 yards. So if they're not getting to 90% of 16 miles an hour on that assessment that we're doing for acceleration, I know that athlete needs to develop acceleration through, power and learning how to explode off of a start and, being able to leverage their body to generate more force early on rather than, training them to just do sprints at max velocity, because that's not going to, have a lot of turnover in the long run.
How old are these kids we're talking about?
So right now we're open to doing any age groups.
Like
so
the Swarm basketball team you just did.
So last night those kids are ages. That's a great question. I want to say it was probably 9 to 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so from a 9 to 14 age bracket, there is already a market to pay to see how these athletes measure up nationally. Or not nationally, but would it be within this ecosystem of this program?
I shouldn't say like they're being nationally ranked as an athlete among all the athletes in the world. It's more of like a national ranking to see like how they're how they compare to other athletes in other states that are doing the same sports as them in the same age group, same gender.
So it's not a ranking, but you're establishing a baseline.
Establishing a baseline, and so those baselines. That's kind of what I was talking about. Are they towards the advanced tier of athletes? Are they in the elite tier of athletes? Are they a beginner athlete, or are they developing still? And especially with youth athletes, it's difficult to tell because age and puberty play a huge role. Some athletes are going to be more developed at a younger age than others. That's just how it is.
Well, it goes back to that saying, it all evens out.
Yeah.
Especially with younger kids. And I'm seeing that as a parent with younger kids and being in that world of all kinds of parents with younger kids.
Yeah.
You go one season here and a kid is an absolute standout, and then 6 months later you're playing a different sport and it's like they're just kind of in the middle of the pack because kids are developing.
Different attributes in each sport too. Some kids are just going to be more powerful and more explosive genetically. Some kids are going to be faster. Some kids are going to be stronger. Some are going to be scrawny. Some are going to be thick. Some are going to be tall. Some are going to be short. It's just variability.
How old are you?
I'm about to turn 31.
Okay, so I think this is a fitting question. So I'm 43. When you were a kid growing up playing sports, what was your schedule like? Yeah. And what was your training like?
So I feel like I'm the last generation of kids that played as many sports as possible and just rotated throughout the year. I didn't do any type of training until I got to college.
Yeah. Well, you even talked about I'm not even doing any weight training.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was like, oh, now I got to lift weights? I'm a baseball player. What do you mean I got to lift weights?
So I would do sport-specific stuff. Like in high school, I hit with a guy. I threw with a guy. But, specific training in a gym setting, no, I never did that. Absolutely not. And my thing was I just tried to play as many sports as possible. I played basketball, I played baseball, I played football, I did track up until junior high. I was very active. I like to do as many things as I could. Nowadays, I don't feel like that's necessarily
it's not
as common, for sure.
The machine, the sports machine has keyed into FOMO with parents.
Sure. It's one of the biggest businesses in the United States is youth sports.
Youth sports. And a lot of it is based on fear. Like your kid is going to miss out.
Yep.
And that sucks. It's tough. The program you're telling me about sounds amazing. And I'm sure it's great, and there's going to be a lot of people that take a lot of benefit from that. Because we're at a point now where you're either running with the pack or you feel like you're being left behind, and you probably are.
Yeah.
Because also the coaches that are coaching these young athletes, they're not out checking out some dirty, dusty little pony league baseball game over in LeClaire to see if there's some diamond in the rough over there. So unless you're putting your child in these programs, the bottom line is they're not going to get noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, they need exposure.
They need exposure.
That's playing in different leagues. That's what the travel ball is. Like for me growing up in high school, travel ball started to become a thing, and I was a good high school player, but I was from a really small town. So I didn't have a lot of college offers. I didn't have a lot of, showcase teams asking me to come play for them. But then, I did go do one showcase in Chicago, and then after, I was exposed to all these college coaches, yes, I got a lot of different offers to go play baseball, and I got offers to play on
That's when Cody
showcase
Smith was
teams.
on the scene. Yeah.
I mean, I became more noticed for sure after that. But, as a kid from a small town, like, I don't know about any of that. I don't know the business side of college baseball. I don't know the recruiting side of college baseball. Like, how would I?
Think of it this way, too. The TBK Sports Complex is no different than a lot of sports complexes around the country. You have to adapt these programs. It's not let's think if we want to adapt any of these kind of sports training specific programs.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. Because
the parents are seeking out
They're looking for
these programs to give their youth athlete a leg up. And where does it end? Because I kind of draw some correlations between that and the different social media platforms. Everybody is jockeying for attention and getting their name out there and doing whatever they need to do. And so a parent is kind of doing that same thing. Like, little Timmy wants to be good at baseball, but just because he's good doesn't mean anything unless he's involved in these programs and these coaches know who he is and he's doing all the extracurricular things.
Yeah.
Where does it go?
That's a great question. I mean, especially baseball, it's so saturated now, like it's hard to get noticed as a player, no matter what the age is. You have these travel organizations that'll have, 8U, 9U teams, but they'll have 5, 6 teams within just that age group. You know what I mean? So it's difficult. I don't know. Like, I'm glad I grew up when I did, and I didn't have to go through all of that, because it is a lot more competitive now, and it's a lot more demanding now for kids than it ever was when I was a kid.
I'm finding myself not telling my kids about certain camps and different things that I'm hearing about, only because I don't want to stress them out.
Absolutely, and you can't do everything. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with like high school kids that want to play in college, and these teams have these showcases and these camps at their colleges and universities, and they personally invite you to go to it, and like you feel special. You feel like you're a part of something, and you want to go do this because you have a chance to be a part of this team. But in reality, everything is still a business, and especially from the youth side of things, like, oh, you missed a camp when you were 9. Oh, you're not going to Iowa now.
Yeah,
that's not how it works.
Or like, let me see your
the mindset. Yeah.
Well, and now we've got all these apps that are tracking the stats of these kids. Like Game Changer, which is a great app. I mean, we use it for youth baseball, and it's fun to record the games and do all that. But it's a lot of pressure. I wonder what it's going to be like. And God willing, I'm still sitting around here in 10 years. But I'd be curious to sit down with the Cody Smith 10 years from now. And if the conversation goes towards, man, that really added to my youth baseball experience, or I hate baseball. Yeah. I hate baseball.
Well, I feel like that's more of the trend. You get to a point where it's just, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. It's not a desire from the kid anymore. It's pressure. And the kid's going to get to a point where it's like it's going to break him, or he's going to get to the point where, he has the option, do I want to play baseball after high school, or do I want to go to college? Do I want to just have a good college experience? Do I want to get an education, or do I want to kind of try to keep grinding this to make other people happier. Is this what I want to do?
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is we are going to see a yang to the yin. Right now, we're all eating a lot of cake when it comes to all these extracurricular sports activities. And I'm kind of thinking of baseball when I say this right now.
Well, we're in baseball season.
We're in baseball season, and we're talking to a baseballer here. I think I hope what eventually happens is a push back to the sandlot. And I think what would be a good opportunity is if you end up getting a couple really well-known coaches and people that are influential in the youth sports world that go, enough.
Yeah.
Enough. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have practices on these days. And I had this idea for a baseball league because our daughter plays in the LeClaire Wapsie League, which is a very fun, laid-back league. It's not a travel league. It's just hanging out and playing kids from the area. I think what's going to happen, I hope what happens, is there ends up being this kind of rally cry for that small-town baseball feel where every Friday night there's a game and the parents, the dads, take turns bringing a grill, and there's like this. What I think would be super fun is if there was a league, and let's say there's 4 teams in the league, and before each game, there's like a field 1, field 2. Before those Friday night games, there's almost like a draft or like a drawing. So you play with different players any given Friday night within these 4 teams. And it builds a lot of camaraderie. It builds a lot of different scenarios you might not see. I almost think that would be super fun.
Idea.
I wanted to call it a Sandlot League.
Especially for young kids. I mean, because then you also get the social aspect of it. Like, they're having to interact with a bunch of different kids. And
the parents have to interact with all the different parents.
And if you have a different coach for each team, too, they're learning different coaching styles from each individual as well. And just get some more exposure.
All of a sudden, Joey and Cody are on the same team, and our parents who have never chatted with each other got their lawn chairs lined up and be like, oh, that's my son Joe, that's my son Cody. Oh, nice to meet you. Well, I guess we might see you again, Wouldn't that be a fun thing because I think the Quad Cities would be a perfect test model for a Sandlot League where it is known where this is what it is, but these coaches know people. If you're good, don't worry. Maybe there's I think a social media page would blow up. I think people would love that. Yeah. You actually have commentators for the game, which I would gladly sign up for, which, by the way, I do play-by-play on Game Changer with our son when he plays on his team. We pipe in that soundboard, and we do play-by-play. Yeah. So if you pull up any of my pages, you'll see it's kind of fun. But if you did actual live introductions, actual national anthems, which I don't care if you're 3. If you're playing baseball, they should be playing or singing the national anthem, which they're not doing right now very much. And maybe here they do. Do they do that here?
I'm not sure. I haven't been to a game out here, to be honest.
That could be something. I would assume they are, but if not,
I would assume so too. But
that should be something that is just a must. Like, no matter the age, if you're playing a sporting event, do the anthem. Do the anthem. Because I'm thinking of that right now. In my son's league, I don't know if I've ever heard the anthem play before the games. Maybe they do like way early before the tournament starts, but
they might do it very first game of the day. I mean, some organizations, some tournaments do it that way,
but either way, Sandlot League, and that could be something that Cody Smith could head up there.
Yeah, maybe
you could head that up. You mentioned earlier you were coaching downstairs, coaching baseball.
Yep.
Not doing that now.
No.
What were you doing when it came to the baseball training?
Yeah. So I coached at Rock Ridge High School when I first moved here too for a season. And
really?
Yep. I did that for one season, and then I moved into the private sector. So we used to have Legends upstairs here. I don't know if you remember that when we first opened.
I do.
Yes. So they used to always be in the back at nights, and that's where I started out as. So I would do hitting and pitching instruction, mostly pitching. And so that's what I was doing up until probably 6 months ago. Yeah.
Are you doing it on the side?
I was doing it on the side, yeah.
Up here?
No, downstairs.
Downstairs.
Through their organization.
Through there.
Yep.
But you're not now.
No.
Why not? It seems like that would be a good money-making opportunity.
Yes, it is a great money-making opportunity, and I enjoy it. I love working with the kids, and I love being part of baseball still. But with my role and responsibilities as GM here, it's just I don't want to work 70 hours a week. You know, I'm usually working 50, 55 hours already. So.
Well, and you probably got a pretty good gig here. Well, and you have a good gig here, so you're maybe in a little bit of a comfort zone at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I like my role here. It's a lot of responsibility. I wear a lot of different hats, so I need to prioritize this over, any other side hustle, if you would.
Is there a place in this area that just has like 2 or 3 batting cages and a couple hitting coaches? Just you could just pop in and make an appointment? Or is that here too?
EL1 downstairs. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to shout out any of our competitors. I still have a pretty good relationship with those guys.
I'm still in Sandlot mode right now. Is what I'm thinking of. But
you can rent out the cages downstairs.
Yeah.
You can do that online. You could rent it out for your team. You could rent it out for an hour for yourself. You can even rent out. They have 2 hit tracks down there. If you're familiar with what those are, it's basically like a launch monitoring system where you can see, your projections of where you're hitting, your exit velocities, that type of thing.
Let's talk about that for a quick second. I want to dive into the specifics, but this brings up a good point.
Let me pause you real quick. Kennedy, what time is it? What time is it?
How are we doing on time?
Okay, I got a meeting in 9 minutes. That's the only thing.
You have a meeting in 9 minutes?
Yeah.
Have them come sit in. We'll give them a mic.
It's a Zoom meeting.
Have them watch the live feed, and if they've got any questions, they can comment on it. All right, real quick.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of wrap this up. One, I do think this is an amazing facility. I feel like it's very special to look around at any given moment and see hundreds of people that are from the Quad Cities in and around this facility that wouldn't otherwise be doing it right now. I think it's wonderful, and I think the sky is the limit for this whole area here and this whole complex. That being said, there's so much going on here. It's hard to keep track of all of the options that are on the menu for the TBK Sports Complex.
Yeah, I
that's
completely
why
understand that.
That's why I even just asked about the batting cages, because clearly there's batting cages here, but from just a regular old parent with a couple kids, you can somewhat be a little overwhelmed and not know where to go. So if you're a parent like myself, where you're like, I know there's a lot on the menu, but I don't even know how to read the menu, what do they do?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, like each business is its own, separate, each area is its own separate business within the facility. So with that being said, each business has to market themselves and has to advertise themselves individually as well. And so, like for us, we have Max here behind the camera that we just brought on, so he's going to help us
What up, Max?
with our marketing. We've been trying to get somebody to help us out with marketing for a while now, and so, for us, that'll be huge, promoting what we offer and our different packages and training and memberships. And
so that's a challenge for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Or not you, but for the facility. It's a challenge to get all of the stuff out there.
This place is a monster, right? Like we have, like you said, we have so many different businesses. We have so many different events. We have tournaments. We have different things going on all the time, and things are constantly changing. New things are going up, things are coming down. So to stay on top of it and keep, the external people up to date and informed on what's going on, that's for sure a challenge.
Yeah, it is. But you guys will get there.
Yeah.
It's just
now
that the framework is built, now we can start working on all the window dressing and all that.
That's a big focus for us right now, and over the next couple months, like that's really what we want to hit on, is trying to get us out to people that don't know about TBK Bank Sports Complex, making us aware, because we are pretty awesome. Like, this is a jaw-dropping place when you walk in it for the first time, and we still are fortunate enough to get to see it, especially on the weekends when people who are coming for tournaments haven't seen this place before. Like, some of the comments that we get, this place is amazing, this place is incredible. We had USA Handball here a couple weekends ago, and they're like, what is this? Like, why is this in the middle of nowhere, Iowa? Like, these guys are from New York, California, Texas, whatever. And like, we got a pretty cool thing here.
That is probably the biggest challenge that you guys face, is letting everybody know what is all available.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but in the meantime, while you guys are still building up all your marketing arm and everything else, You can still walk in and talk to someone at the front desk. Say,
Absolutely.
hey, I need a pitch. Yeah. Could I walk in and just say, I need a pitching coach for my kid, or I need a hitting coach? When can I come do that? Or is it just when can I come rent a cage and throw balls to my kid?
Are you talking about at our front desk?
Your front desk.
Yeah. So our front desk would know to direct you to me. Because I'm going to get you to the right people. But if you were to go to the entertainment center, I can't speak for them if they would know who to tell you to contact.
Right. They'd at least say walk down the hall and talk to somebody there.
Exactly. So they're going to direct you to the EL1 Academy down at the end of the hall,
All right. I'm going to plug the TBK Center while plugging myself here at the end here. But if you guys ever want to do like some live streams, or if there's a big event, like I think it'd be fun to do like a live during a soccer game or a baseball game. We could even do some play-by-play. We should do some play-by-play at one of the big games that happen out here.
Yeah, sure.
You could do some. You could actually talk the sports lingo, and I can just be your color man.
I could try. Yeah.
Yeah. You could say all the right words. Well, I hope this isn't the first time we get together here, Cody, because I feel like we could keep going, but you've got a Zoom call. You've got to talk to the brass on the Zoom call here today.
Yep, I got a meeting actually with our representative for that speed lab that I was telling you about.
So, good. Yeah. Well, tell him best of luck.
Tell him Joe said hi.
Tell him Joe Braymeyer presents said hi, and make sure to like, follow, and subscribe, and comment, and all those things. So, hey, Cody Smith, everybody, the TBK Sports Complex and Level 2 Fitness Center right here in beautiful Bettendorf, Iowa. Thanks, Cody. Have a great day, man. We'll see you later.